Now, we all know Harry Houdini as the famous stage magician, but there's one other thing that he was prolific for that I don't think very many people know about, and that was he was quite a prick to psychics and supernaturalists. And it's a bit of an odd one. It all happened during the 1920s after the death of his mother. He went to a few psychics in attempts to, see what it was about, if it was possible to contact her, and then felt the whole thing to be a sham, which I'm sure the large majority of people in these positions are, scams. But it's a comfort for certain people, but he found this so not true that he would have these outbursts against these people and would rage out at them and claim that this was, false, this wasn't anything special, this was lies, this was deceit, this was exploitation, which maybe it is, but so is his magic, but where him being a huge prick comes in was in the books he wrote. He went on to write a series of books. There was quite a few, I'm not sure how many, and the numbers 4 is sticking in my head, but there's probably more than 4. And these books were, because he'd spent his whole life around the circus folk, around the freak shows, around the magicians, around the psychics, he knew the tricks of the trades, and he knew how these people were doing these things they were doing, and he knew how they got away without people knowing it. And he wrote these books going through every act, every trick, every motion, everything that someone might see, someone who is a performance artist or claims to be supernatural and is actually, pulling some strings at something. He took every single individual one and throughout these published books, debunks them one by one by one by one, telling the world how these people did what they did, completely ruining their sources of income. Meanwhile, he was out there doing tricks, refused to tell anyone how he did his, and then no one figured out, and I think maybe that's the issue. He could figure out what other people were doing, but no one figured out how he was doing his, so he sort of felt that he was protected. Maybe if someone had figured out, he wouldn't have been that pissy because what he'd been doing his whole life was debunking other people's tricks. But seriously, he was just as much of a fraud in terms, possibly, as these people were. Yet no one was going about literally destroying his career path by telling the whole world how he did what he did, and how to recognize the lies and the tricks in the magic. And if someone had gone around and done this to him, he would have lost his income, but because no one did, and as I said, that might be the reason why he holds up strong here, but he doesn't seem it's just a dick move, because it's how he was making money. And it's how everyone he grew up and was around his whole life was making money. And he just decides to steamroll it all by telling the whole world, this is how sleight of hand works, this is how that trick works, this is how they do this, that's how they make that move, that's how they disappear this way. And it just takes the fun out of what he himself was doing. It's like he's trying to ruin it for everyone but himself, and I think it just would have been hilarious if someone had figured out how he did it and ruined it for him as well, and just had a taste of his own medicine. But on the whole psychic thing, another thing he sort of did but didn't really do himself, his wife did more so. They came up with a term, and that term was told to no one throughout their life, and when he died, his wife was instructed to go to see several psychics, and that term would be what he would tell her. And apparently she never heard that term, so he takes that as absolute proof that this is debunking of paranormal activity, when really it just, debunks the fact that whatever side street magicians, psychics she went to see probably were doing it for the 20 quid and not for the connection to the spirit world.